What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cunningham here with Hannah Burr.
Hello.
Hello, Hannah. We are officially into season 2 of Andor, finally.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken a long time to get here, actually.
It's been a wait.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
it's been a while. It's been a while. So the first 3 episodes have just dropped, and we are obviously going to be talking about that. We've got a couple of things to get through, but first off, thanks to our patrons, as always, for the support. They've mentioned a few things about this as well. I put a reaction video up there yesterday, just a brief reaction, specifically mentioning how I need to get your take on some of the stuff that's happening in these episodes.
Right, because I didn't finish watching it until this morning.
That's right. It's a lot. It's 2.5 hours in one sitting. It's actually quite different. Star Wars, right? I mean,
It's very different, but I still love that even if you took the scenes of Cassian out with regards to the TIE fighter,
yes.
anything that is like remotely symbolic to what we've seen in Star Wars before, it still feels like Star Wars.
Oh yeah, totally. Absolutely. Okay, so before we get into that, just a couple little news things that even though we actually did an episode earlier in the week reacting to all the stuff that came out of Star Wars Celebration last weekend. Celebration was, I'd say it was pretty good as far as what we got revealed. Biggest things obviously were Starfighter and Maul, I think, were the biggest announcements. We already knew that Mandalorian and Grogu were coming. We already knew, we kind of got some new news on some games and things like that, but overall, I think it was pretty successful. And of course, the announcement that in April of 2027, Star Wars Celebration will be in Los Angeles for its 50th anniversary. I am definitely going.
I want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember if we were talking. Did we bring up that it was the 50th? Because
We did.
we did. Okay,
Because I said, I think it's the 50th. And you
oh
were like,
yeah,
is it really the 50th? I'm like, you Google. Oh, yeah, it's the 50th.
yeah,
And you're like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I'm turning 50.
yeah. Well, I was there when they did the 30th. I was there when they did the 40th. So I'm definitely
Amazing.
going to be there when they do the 50th, because that is massive. It's going to be a massive celebration too, because you think about it, 2 years from now, that's a month before Starfighter comes out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of that. There's going to be other movies in development that we're going to know about. It's just going to be a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And they have done, I think I mentioned this before, they have done Celebration in Los Angeles before, only one other time. That was back in 2007. I think it was the 30th anniversary, actually. They did that there. So, so that is a huge news. Some of that coming out, but a little bit came out this week that I thought was interesting. One, there was an article that I read that came out that said Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down in August.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just saw another article updated that she's not stepping down in August. So who knows? It's not until Lucasfilm says something. I guess don't worry about any kind of Kathleen Kennedy news.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my word.
Yeah. So nothing's set in stone about when she's stepping down. The other thing, and I don't know if you saw this, Hannah, and this one, I'm probably going to be a little frustrated about this one. Apparently, the rumor is, and again, it's not solidified, but I think once it starts getting out there, it usually tends to be true.
Right.
But apparently, Bail Organa does appear in Andor, but it's not Jimmy Smits playing him.
What?
Yeah, so apparently the rumor is someone released an article about some source that said that he's only in it briefly. Like there's only maybe one episode he's in it. Like towards later, maybe probably towards the tail end when they get the Yavin finally.
Right.
But he's being played by Benjamin Bratt now, and not Bail Organa, not Jimmy Smits. So people have followed up and said, well, maybe, he's not, maybe he's tied up. Maybe he, couldn't do it. Maybe, there was just, the money wasn't right, because Tony Gilroy has come out and talked about how he was asked, as you're getting closer to Rogue One, is there any way to bring back any of these legacy characters?
Right.
I think Bail was one of the ones they were talking about, but mainly they were kind of talking about like General Dodonna, that's in Episode 4, that's in Rogue One. Some of these guys in Rogue One that were, like Blue Leader and things like that. Like, are you going to bring those guys back to tie this in? Are you going to have, Vader? Are you going to try to have an appearance of Vader? Stuff like that. So, and I think the Bail thing kind of, either was suggested or didn't know, but ultimately his response was, well, we try, but, we're just restricted by the budget we have. Sometimes bringing back legacy characters is expensive because, they're coming back to replay a character, and sometimes it's in their contract that they get paid more money. So the rumor is, I'm not saying it's true, but the rumor is that his appearance would have been more expensive. They didn't have the money, so they had to go out and get somebody else, and they got Benjamin. Now, Benjamin Bratt, to me, I don't feel like he's any cheaper, because he's a big-time actor.
I pulled up his IMDb page, and I'm like, really? Like, really, in the sense of, this guy is cheaper?
Exactly. Yeah. Benjamin Bratt's, I mean, everybody should know who Benjamin Bratt is. I mean, he's been all over the place. So I don't know if it's true. It's possible Benjamin got casted for somebody else, and someone else thought, it was Bail Organa. Maybe it would be I can't imagine Jimmy Smits turning it down.
No.
So there must be a bigger reason.
I could even imagine Jimmy Smits saying, screw the contract. What can you give me?
Correct.
I'm in.
Same. Especially if it's like a day of work or 2 days of work.
Or it might even be, hey, I know this is what the contract says, but look, if you give this to me now, with the money you get from airing this, just back pay me.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Defer it. Yeah.
Honestly, it could just be scheduling conflict of some sort.
Could have been. But a lot of people are like, well, look at his IMDb. He doesn't really have anything coming out. So,
IMDb isn't always the truth. Like, it's
that's true too. Yeah, he could. Any number of things could have happened, right? But
he could be going through a family emergency right now. Like, you never know.
Yeah, but I think it depends on what scene it was. I guess.
Right.
Could you have delayed shooting him later, on a green screen or something like that? But more than likely, he was interacting with other people, and he had to be there. So, but then maybe think about cutting him out just because it throws it off like that. I mean, he's become such a staple.
Yeah,
it's like I mean, it's not as bad as recasting Han or Luke, in their prime, but like. I think this is pretty significant because he's been it's not like he's in a different part of the timeline. Like, this is the timeline between Rogue One and Obi-Wan. Like, he's
huge.
He's hit. Yeah. Right.
And I look at a picture of him, and don't get me wrong, like, he's got the creds. He's great, but he looks nothing like him.
Oh, Benjamin?
He looks nothing like him.
Totally.
So at that point, I would say find a no-name that looks exactly like him and use him.
Yeah, or get a same body size and deep fake him.
There you go.
I mean, Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I'm sure Jimmy would be like, yes, for the purposes of this episode of Andor, I allow you to use AI for my likeness.
I agree.
Of course, there's a bunch of legal jargon that goes on in there, but yeah.
But hey, this could all be mute. Maybe it does. Maybe it's not true. I don't know.
Maybe he plays another senator
Maybe
that dressed similarly.
correct. That's got kind of
They
what
all
I'm thinking
look very
too.
similar. So
Yes.
it could be someone saw a leaked cut and was like, oh my gosh, he's replacing Bail Organa. But it turns out he's actually just another senator who
Right.
happens to have the same facial hair.
Right. That's maybe he's playing Bale's brother.
That could be it too. I don't know if. Wait a minute. No, actually, in the Leia book, doesn't Bale have a brother?
I don't remember.
Like a brother or cousin or something like that?
I don't remember, but I'm sure he's got family, So
yeah.
Maybe that is. Maybe he's playing an Organa, a different Organa. So we can only hope. I really find it hard that they would recast him, but could be wrong. Okay, that's really the bit of news there. Of course, novel wise, there was some publication announcements at Celebration. I think the big novel was the Vader novel that's coming, but I don't think there was a release date on that.
Okay.
The May 6th, you can get Wayseeker, which is an Acolyte novel, and then of course June 17th is the big release of Trials of the Jedi, the conclusion of the High Republic series.
Awesome.
Yes. Comics. The next week in April, you've got a High Republic, Fear of the Jedi, number 3, the Rise of Skywalker adaptation, number 3. And then the week after that, May the 7th, begins the next Star Wars series, Star Wars number 1, which takes place post Return of the Jedi. So now we're starting to get into some time periods that we don't really know that much about with our main cast. We got a lot of stories without Luke, Leia, and Han, and now this is going to be centered around them.
It'll be interesting to see how much crossover they do with the Princess and the Scoundrel.
Well, and this is post that, right?
Okay, cool.
This is the post Battle of Jakku, so it's like.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so this is like a year after. Well, right after Jakku, because they did that comic series, the Battle of Jakku comic series just recently to kind of fill in that year.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is post where they're building the New Republic. Who knows what Han goes and does, but Luke's out there. We don't know. I think it'd be cool if we really get in the comics, about Leia's training and that whole time I think Leia was with him for about a year. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And then May 14th, you got Jedi Knights number 3, which I want to start reading those. I want to get into those. And the week after that, Legacy of Vader number 4 and Rise of Skywalker number 4 later at the end of May. So not a lot of comics out there right now, but new ones. Star Wars number 1 starting off. That's going to be pretty neat. Okay, Anna.
Okay.
Andor. Well, actually, I forgot. I wanted to kind of read comments from last week from Thrawn on our celebration episode. He says, so excited for a Maul show. Feel like there's enough gap in the timeline that they can do a lot with him. I know people were expecting a Ventress animated show, but hopefully now we can skip that and maybe introduce her in something live action. Totally cool. I'm excited for a new Star Wars movie and like Ryan Gosling, but I'm not the biggest fan of Sean Levy movies. I don't think it would be anything groundbreaking, but at this point, just hope for a fun Star Wars theater experience. I heard it's set after Rise of Skywalker and is a standalone and not connected to the Skywalker saga. I also heard that the main character will be a 25-year-old kid. So it'll be interesting to see who they cast. They have fast-tracked movie and do hope this doesn't derail a Rey movie or a new trilogy. I missed if they announced any new novels and comics and hoping you could let me know if you usually do. Thanks again for both of you. May the Force be with you. Okay, so I you know what? Sean Levy is funny because I never really knew much of his movies until just recently, and
Yeah.
I just gotta say, I'm like Free Guy and Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, I love those two movies.
I love those too. It makes me think that, and that all I can think of is the Barbie movie where Ryan Gosling really showed his comedic chops.
Right.
I mean, Crazy Stupid Love, we saw it a little bit there, but we really saw the comedic chops in the Barbie movie, which makes me think, okay, we're going for that comedy now. We're going for that, not a rom-com, but just like a pure comedy Star Wars film potentially.
Yeah.
So that could be really, really good.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, Thrawn, but I think what I read was that the main character is a 15-year-old kid, not a 25-year-old kid. So I don't know if you were a typo. And he's traveling the galaxy with his uncle, who is Ryan Gosling.
There we go.
So I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if that character, I don't believe that character has been cast. I will say, one thing I have read a few times too is there's apparently a lot of people turning down roles for this movie. Like, so Jesse Plemons and Jodie Comer, who we had talked about, who was Rey's mother in Star Wars, both of them have turned down the role. They were supposed to play. They were offered. Apparently, there's two villains: a woman and a man and a woman. They offered Jesse Plemons. Yeah, I mean, they turned it down. I think they offered the girl, I can't remember, Madison, that won the Oscar. She just won the Best Actress in Female, something Madison, Maylee Madison or something like that.
Mikey Madison.
Mikey Madison. Apparently, she turned down the villain role. So I think I read there's like probably 6 or 7 actors that have turned down roles. Now, they can turn down for many reasons, right? Like scheduling conflicts, money, whatever.
It also just could be they read the script and was like, not for me.
That's true. That's totally true. So obviously they're gonna find actors. It's not like they're not gonna find actors to I mean, I'm available if they're interested.
I was about to say, I'm like, hey. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be fine. But that's what I kind of read was it was a 15-year-old kid and his uncle that get out there. And yes, it is a standalone. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with it's set 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
And yeah, Thrawn. And then novels, yeah, we kind of talked about it on the show, but the Vader novels, the big novel that was announced, everything else was kind of the art of Andor and
right.
Things like that. Okay. I think on Patreon, I think the guys, a couple of guys commented on my reaction. Or no, it was on my mall announcement on there. Draconius Rex. He says, "This is awesome." This is in response to the mall thing. He said, "I had a feeling this was coming." He said Sam Witwer was on the Katie Sackhoff podcast last year, and it was brought up cryptically that Sam was working on a project at Lucasfilm. And he said the first thing that came to mind was Maul. Yeah, I never saw that one, so
I didn't see that either. How did that not go viral? Like, how did not like a Star Wars fan go?
Yes. And then he says, "By the way, let's all go to LA." Well, hey, I'm all for it, Rex. I'm going, so let's go.
I want to go. If I can go, I will go.
Darth S&M says score. Yeah, and Darth's been a little absent. He said he was moving or something like that, I think, and he's gonna
get back into
get back in. Yeah, I know. Which we will talk about here shortly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's talk about Andor. Okay, so first 3 episodes, about 2.5 hours, all kind of connected. You know, it was one little timeline that takes place over a couple days. So we're just going to tackle this as kind of overall, like one big story arc kind of thing. I mean, the 3 episodes, it's called 1 Year Later. The second episode is called Sigourney Tima, and then third one is Harvest.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so overall impression of the first 3 episodes, Hannah.
Brilliant. That's just kind of the word that comes to mind. We're getting all of these different storylines, and I do want to say when the episode first started with Cassian pretending to be a testing pilot, trainer pilot, he and he didn't know how to use the ship. At first, it caught me off guard because most of the time when we see Star Wars, everybody knows how to use everything right away.
Right.
And the fact that it took him a lot of tries, and let's be honest, he never really fully gets to how to use it and how to fly it. I was like, wow, this is actually really refreshing. It's comedic, sure, but it's refreshing. I just wanted to say that because it kind of threw me off in the beginning, but then I was like, no, this is actually really, really good. So with his story, we see that even within the rebellion in the beginning, there are separate factions. And the different factions don't even trust each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that going on.
Yes.
Then you have what's going on with Bix and all of those people. And we start seeing more of the colors of the empire with them treating people who don't necessarily have the proper papers to be working. You start seeing where the different seeds of the rebellion is located, and they try to be as underground as possible, try to be in the most inconspicuous places, but even then they're not out of the empire's reach. Then you have Deidre and Cyril. I blinked out. I was about to say Skyless, and I'm like, that's not his name.
Yeah.
Cyril. They're living together. And I have to say, a comedic moment is when they're both like, no, we can't cancel again. And he's cooking dinner. I'm like, it'd be hilarious if it was his mom he was cooking for. And sure enough, it's his mom. But you have them, and you have that interesting dynamic of Cyril willing to take a back seat for her career. I wonder how that's going to go when she is offered a job that she doesn't want, because she doesn't want the responsibility of a whole planet potentially dying on herself and on her conscience. But she also feels honored that she's one of the elite to be told about this idea. So I wonder what that's going to do with their relationship. And then you've got Mon, who's got a whole nother slew of problems going on, not only politically, but she's trying to celebrate her daughter's wedding, her nuptials, and she's reunited with a fling. Well, not a fling. Like, they actually had a strong affair, which we actually read about in Reign of the Empire. It's mentioned.
Okay.
I think,
I don't think
right?
I've gotten there yet. I don't think I've gotten there yet.
Well, sorry, spoiler. It's mentioned,
That's
so
all right.
it's
That's all right.
established. It's established.
Yeah, I figured that. I figured they went back a long way.
But there's so much. I think my favorite part, actually, of this trilogy is Mon's story, because we see so much guilt that she feels for asking Tay to help her, and then we see the guilt of her realizing, I married because I felt like it was out of obligation. It wasn't out of love, and I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And she tries to tell her daughter that, because it's clear that her daughter's not ready. She was upset that her future husband didn't want to even hold her hand. Like, so she's like, maybe she's not ready. And then her daughter slaps her in the face, essentially, by saying, I wish you were drunk instead.
Yes.
And so then you have Mon dealing with all of these layers of guilt and pressure that she just finally lets go, because she's like, whatever. I just need a moment to just kind of lose myself. And that we even see Perrin's face at that point going, oh, this isn't good.
Right.
And then you have Luthen like throwing in his whole layer of complications with Mom. But sorry, I was trying to summarize it as best as I could. But I think out of the 3 stories, even though they're all very, very strong, and I know there's some controversy in there, Mon's stood out to me the most.
Yeah. Same.
I mean, it's just great writing. For all three scenarios, it's great writing, and I felt like the pacing between all of them was just fantastic.
But so was there anything that didn't hit with you? Like what?
That didn't hit. I
Yeah.
don't think anything didn't hit in the sense of I didn't understand it or I didn't go, why is that there? There is that one scene that I feel like they took a little too far. But I also think we have to come to the realization and realize that when George Lucas originally wrote the Empire for Star Wars: A New Hope, is he had the Third Reich in mind. He had the Nazis in mind. And unfortunately, that's what the Nazis did. I think they did take it a little too far in that one scene, but otherwise, I feel like everything, fortunately and unfortunately, made a lot of sense. I don't think there was anything that made me go, I don't know how I feel about that. It felt so Star Wars. Even if you were to take out the TIE fighters, it felt like Star Wars still. And there
Yeah.
wasn't a single lightsaber, there wasn't a single mention of the Jedi or the Sith.
Right.
What was your take?
I look, it's good. It's really good. You can't knock the acting at all. You can't. The cast is brilliant. The sets looked gorgeous. Locations were fantastic. I think there was. I was surprised a little bit how much comedy was in this. There was a lot more comedy for.
Okay.
Well, like you said, like TIE Fighter in the beginning where he's just slamming around and everything.
Well, I guess I could see someone laughing at that, but I didn't laugh at it.
Oh, I thought it was
I just was like,
hilarious.
oh,
You know, and then you've got the guys that captured him playing paper rock scissors.
that I didn't laugh at that either, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's like rock paper scissors.
Well, yeah, but I mean that is definitely comedic. You're not.
Sure.
I mean, if it wasn't comedic, they would have found a little rougher way to solve who was gonna, be the leader. You had what was it? What was the other thing? There was something else. Yeah. Anyway, there's just a lot more like little hints of the comedy part about it, which, again, I think it was a good break because this has been touted as being a really, really serious series, which it is. But it's good to have moments like that. I just wasn't expecting as many as we got, or just the type. Like, again, paper rock scissors. It's like, wow, really? They have, it's so strange to see, but funny.
Okay, so my first thought I had when I saw that was, oh, a new game for us Star Wars geeks to learn.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. They need to explain the game so people can start playing that a little bit, because it wasn't paper, rock, scissors. Obviously it was something else. So yeah, exactly. So I think I was surprised by that, but then we'll get a little bit into the other scene later. But I think the one thing that I'm still trying to figure out, the one thing that was, again, it's not like that it didn't hit with me, but kind of what you said. I think these first 3 episodes, to be honest, was it was definitely about Mothma and Andor. I definitely think it weighed heavily more with Mothma, because I think we got more of into her life and her story. I mean, Chandrilla is finally we get to see that planet, which we've known for years. I mean, 30, 40 years. but we finally get to see it. I think Andor, unfortunately, I think we got there obviously in the last episode, but I'm still trying to question a little bit why. I mean, he was basically sidelined for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, which I thought was part of me right now is feeling like that was a long time and ultimately the payoff was really showing us where he was at, right? He's ended up on Yavin 4, which again was a good payoff, but I don't know. It's just like you said, we Star Wars fans like us already know that like all the factions out there in the rebellion are all kind of fighting for themselves. They're not really organized yet. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see that. So I get what they were doing. I understand that they were trying to show us that there's no leader in the rebellion. Like there's all these rebellions going on, but no one's really leading these guys.
Right.
But I was just a little surprised how long it took, because it started halfway through the first episode and he didn't leave until almost the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a lot in there. That's why we got filled with Mothma's story. We got filled with Bix and Brasco's story, so it's like, it was easy. It wasn't like there was wasted time, but we didn't really see Andor that much.
I think though that's going to pay off later. I think Andor, because the thing is, he's like, we're on the same side. And they're like, well, how do we know that? Who do you work for? And the fact that even Cassian couldn't trust them with who he reported to that spoke volumes. So
he is sitting there in an Imperial outfit, so it's like,
of course.
There's no way they could believe him.
Exactly. But my point is, maybe in the next 3 movies, we see how that impacted him. And maybe he goes to Mon, or he goes to Luthen, or he goes to somebody and says, someone needs to unite all these factions and that could be how Saw Gerrera comes into all of this. It's the idea of someone needs to unite all these factions because everybody wants, like, all these factions want the same thing. They want the same thing. So why can't we work together?
Sure. Yeah.
And so that could be why he was sidelined, because in reality he was helping bring to light, and he was reporting back, hey, this is what I witnessed, this is what I experienced. We need to fix, if we have any chance against the Empire, we need to fix this, because otherwise we're going to start killing each other instead of the Empire, like these people are doing to each other. Mm-hmm. So that could be it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's part of it. I think Luthen's already kind of expressed that a little bit, that there's
right, but having a second voice in there versus from somebody who, let's be honest, tends to be a bit pompous and tends to be a bit of a hyperbole at times.
Who's that? Luthen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He tends to.
Yeah, but he's definitely, he's been in this fight way longer.
That's true.
Than Andor has.
Yeah, that's true. But you have somebody else coming in saying, hey, Luthen's right here.
And then, of course, Saul, Luthen's seen the factions, right? You had Saul, you had that guy, Krieger, that they sacrificed in the first season. Of course, we know about a bunch of factions out there, like the Ghost Crew and all that. So eventually Mon is the one that brings the alliance together, but I think I just think that could have been shortened for sure. I don't think you needed to be there that long to get across what got, because it again, part of me feels like it's one of them things where, I hate to say it, but it's like, you have a certain amount of budget and you're like, well, where can we spend the money? Where should we focus the money? They clearly focused it on Chandrilla and the wedding and all those characters. There's a ton of cast in those scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously a big wedding, right? So you kind of had to limit somebody.
I guess, yeah.
So it's just one of the things where, you know, as a filmmaker, you kind of think about those things and how they decide to spread the story out and what they can tell, because you just can't do anything you want. You know, it's not like there's unlimited funds.
Yeah.
So you have to tend to, and this is why when you watch a series, you know, every character isn't in every episode.
Yeah.
Right. They limit the episodes. They don't have to pay in that much. Right. So anyway, so that was kind of the only thing that really, and again, I need to watch it again. I only saw it one time. So I remember me and both my daughter, and honestly, every time they went to those guys and they were fighting each other, I mean, me and my daughter, who was 15, I was watching it, we just kind of laughed at how much nonsense these guys were doing, right? You know, it's like,
but be in their shoes. They've had no food for a number of days.
Sure,
that can do a lot to a person.
Totally. But you would think, yeah, whatever, yeah.
Let alone water.
Yeah,
they probably haven't had water either.
Yeah, until it rained, then they finally got some water.
Well, until they didn't. Until Cassian's like, "Hey, you morons!"
Totally. Yeah. But I think we're going to see that group again, because I feel like we're going to end up on Yavin at some point. Hopefully those guys, unless those guys starve to death.
We'll find that out soon.
So, okay. I think like, that's what I was comedic too, was the whole Deidre surreal and the mom.
That was funny.
That was funny.
That was funny.
That was the other thing I was thinking of, like that whole scene with the dinner.
They were so tense.
Hilarious.
I'm like, there's only one reason they're that tense. Only one reason I can think of, and that's because Cyril's mom is coming for dinner.
Totally. Yes.
And then the fact that Deidre's like, look, this is how it is.
I know. And
I was like, yes!
Yeah, I thought that was great.
I thought it was awesome. I'm like, Cyril, you hold her tight and you do not let her go.
Yes. I thought Krennic's return was really good.
Yes, I did like that a lot, actually.
Going right into it. You know, there's definitely a big talk about Gorma, which has been brought up already. You know, it's kind of a expanding universe or Legends thing now about what happens there. So it seems like they're going to make that canon.
Which, cool.
It's going to be a big scene. It seems like it might be this next arc, if that they're already talking about it. So I think it's going to be a pretty incredible thing next week. Yeah, I think we got all the characters. The whole Luthen thing was interesting. I thought, you know, he's obviously it's been a year, right? We're a year later. You know, he only shows up here because he's bringing an artifact.
Right.
And God, Mothma's kid is so mean. She's so mean.
I don't like her. I'm like, you brat. You don't realize how spoiled you are to have the mom you are. Listen to her. Yeah. As soon as she said, I wish you were drunk, I was like, oh, honey, you're going to look back on that 10 years from now and you're going to go, why did I tell that to her?
Yeah. No, Mothma is easily becoming one of my favorite characters.
Oh, yeah.
Genevieve O'Reilly is playing her magnificently.
I do want to note one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only time we see Mon cry is when she realizes her daughter is being married into a loveless marriage. I don't remember her crying before then.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we've seen her cry, but she's definitely been pushed to the limits for sure. Pushed
to the limits, but the time that we see her crack,
yeah,
is because of her daughter. That is her world. Yeah. I just wanted to vocalize that for a moment.
Which is tough because she's not getting any love back from her.
No.
at all.
If only she knew.
If only she knew. I know. And it seems like the whole marriage to Perrin is just not.
There's
That's not.
nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there either.
It was arranged, and she felt like it's so clear in the conversation she had with her daughter saying, you can say no now. You can say,
Right.
I'm not ready. And it is fine. It's an act of bravery. Nothing else matters. You matter. Don't do this if you don't want to. And because that's what she wanted to be told. Because I'm sure if she went back, she would have said, I was not ready.
Oh, absolutely.
And she would have called it off.
Yep. Absolutely.
But no one empowered her to do that. And I'm sure that's also part of the insecurity that she's feeling during that moment is if I can't even convince my own daughter to do what's right, how the heck am I going to convince other senators, other planets, and then eventually other factions to do what's right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think her daughter saying the line, I wish you were drunk, like, I think that just set off a whole spiral for Mon, in all honesty.
Right. Yeah. So we did get introduced to some new locations as well.
Yes.
Mina Rao is where Brasso and Bix are hiding out. You've got we did see Yavin 4 again. Obviously, we went to Coruscant, and even though we know Chandrilla, but we've never seen it before. In live action. I think
Right.
we probably saw it in Clone Wars, but I can't remember right now. And then, of course, Deidre's apartment on Coruscant, though.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what was that guy's name that's hiding out with Bix and those guys?
Oh, whoops.
Is his name Teeman? Is it Teeman?
Teeman?
Something like that?
I think so.
I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot. Wilmon.
There we go.
Wilmon's his name. So those guys are hanging out on the new planet, Mina Rao, which I was hoping it might have been. Hopefully, I was hoping it was Lothal, but
no. That would have been cool.
That would have been cool. Okay, so I do want to talk. Look, I told the video that I made yesterday for Patreon about my reaction. I mentioned in there that I felt like it was better to get, when we talk about this kind of controversial scene right now that everybody's talking about, I definitely thought it'd be better to get a woman's perspective, which I'm glad you're on here as my co-star here, because it's one thing for guys to sit here and talk about this scene. You got to have a woman explain it better. And I didn't, and I'll do the same now. I'm not really probably going to offer an opinion as far as what they should or shouldn't have done.
Mm-hmm.
I think all I can say is, I was sitting next to my 15-year-old daughter, and you could tell she was taken aback by what was going on. And, Star Wars, I think if George was still running Star Wars, like if he still owned everything, I just think, not that the scene would not have been included, I just think it would have been shown differently. But we're in a different era of Star Wars, and we got a lot more creators, a lot more people touching this medium. So and it just comes down to, is it is it part of the story? Is it really furthering characters? Is it really furthering the story? Is it necessary? How much is necessary? Things like that. So those are the questions you not only ask for this type of scene, but all scenes.
Right.
Does it belong? Does it move it? Does it make any sense? So so I might say one more thing about it, but I want to hear your thoughts on what everybody's talking about right now. Because I will say this, there's definitely a divide out there. There's definitely a lot of people saying that shouldn't be in Star Wars. This is not what Star Wars is for. There's younger people that watch this. Then there's the other side that says, look, this is more of an adult show. It should be okay, and that almost not the justifying, but it's like kind of like what I think you're going to say is like it shows what the Empire is really about, and so and there's arguments about that too. So I think there's definitely a split. There's not like everybody saying it shouldn't be there or everybody saying it should be there, but it's both sides.
Right. I mean, the way I said, and we did talk about this before the show, and you brought up a really good point with the idea that in Star Wars, they've always done topics not related to this specific subject matter, but like to torture and to things like that. It's been very much alluded to. Like,
Right.
and I think the prime example we can talk about is when Leia was tortured in A New Hope. It was very much alluded to. Unfortunately, with this sort of content, it's difficult to allude to it without portraying the fight and spirit that Bix had in it. Do I think it went on too long? Yes, I think we got the point very early on in that fight. Do I think part of the fight should have happened? Yes. So that we could see she won in the end. It's a horrific thing. And I think it's also like, I know the whole other thing too is like, well, this is about Andor. Yes, Andor is in the title, and ultimately it's about him. But if we look at season 1, we see that it's not just about Andor. It's about Mon. It's about Luthen. It's about the creation of the unification of the rebellion. But it's also about the Empire. We are clearly shown what is it like to work for the Empire. George Lucas made it very, very clear that when he created the Empire and was writing it for the original trilogy, it was after the Third Reich. It was after Nazis. Unfortunately, especially when you add the whole immigration, not having legal papers aspect to it, that's what the Nazis did. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what the Nazis did to some of those poor women. So I think sometimes it's important to remember that, what history was. Do I think they made it a little bit longer of a scene? Absolutely. I think you could have definitely shortened it and she could have come out on top. I do understand the whole idea of, well, what if children are watching? Well, if a child who doesn't fully understand what's going on is watching and you took out the later line of what she said when she was confronting the other soldier, like saying this is what just happened or this is what he tried to just happen, if you just changed it to he was trying to take advantage of me, he was trying to hurt me, if you just changed that line, then a child who doesn't necessarily know what's going on will just think, oh, he was trying to hurt her. He was trying to kill her. She was fighting for her life. So I think there is definitely a quote unquote more delicate way to touch it. Like, I see both sides of the coin. I see the one side of, it's pretty clear Andor is meant for adults. I don't really see a lot of children, like meaning under the age of 9, 10, wanting to watch Andor because they're dealing with a lot of adult topics. And by adult topics, I just mean mature topics of of rebellion, of responsibility, of death, of grief, of stepping up and taking responsibility, standing up for what's right in the terms of the like governmental and greater society, not necessarily just standing up to a bully at school. So I see both sides.
Sure.
I think Star Wars has done a great job of alluding to those things. Like even with Kylo Ren psychically torturing the people that are under him. All we see is them wince and then scream. So we can only imagine what they could be going through mentally. So that's my overarching thing is that I think, like, personally, I don't see a problem with them putting it into Star Wars. I think, especially when she said that line later of what, like, accusing him of what he was attempting to do, that's when I was like, oh, maybe we could have said that differently. But I also understand calling a spade because you can only be so taboo about a topic for so long.
Right.
So, like, I see both sides. I understand both sides. I don't have an issue of them putting it in there because they're showing the true colors of the Empire, but I think it could have been done a little more delicately, unless they're really going for that edgy approach.
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox right now.
Yeah, and I think, and I do want to look. I'm going to be the last one to. This is going to sound weird, but like defend the Empire. But you know, we haven't seen this at all.
Yeah.
And I do understand what you're saying, and I know that George started that back then as far as like comparing them to the Nazis, because I mean, granted, think about it, that's how Indiana Jones got born, right? Someone fighting the Nazis. But that you know, what we know what happened in Nazi Germany and history and things like that. This is obviously fantasy, sci-fi fantasy. So it doesn't have to be completely reflective of what the Nazis did. And the fact that, you know, I know you're saying that that's what the Nazis did. That's, you know, the true colors of the Empire. But we've seen a lot of instances of the Empire where there's actually good people in the Empire.
That's what makes the Empire so. That's the other interesting aspect of this show, though, is that we see the different sides of the Empire. We see the different people within the Empire, and we see their true motives. We see people who are pigs like this guy. Sorry, I will call him a pig.
Sure.
And we also see someone like Cyril who's actually genuinely trying to do the right thing based on his orders.
Exactly.
And I think that's what Andor, like, that's why I'm saying we see the true colors of the Empire in the sense of we're seeing all the colors of the Empire. We're seeing people who are genuinely believing they're doing the right thing.
But again, it's not. I don't. Like, you can say the Empire, but you could also just say it's bad people.
Yeah, you absolutely could say that.
Because the Empire, people for the Empire aren't the only ones doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where it kind of gets where you can kind of make the argument. I can see where there's all these other examples of what make the Empire evil. Do you have to really show this one?
I understand that.
I think that's a valid argument. I just think that's a valid argument.
It's valid.
Again, I don't know. I don't really know if I have an opinion yet about it, but I think it's valid that there's conversation going on about this, because I don't think there's a right answer and I don't think there's a wrong answer, to be honest. I think, look, I'll tell you what it does. If in my mind, this is what I think it's going to mean. This is what, to me, is going to get Bix in the fight.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to give her a fire under her, like a fire in her belly.
She's been hiding out. She hasn't been really, at least we don't know what really has happened in the past year, but it seems like they've been trying to like stay hidden and, you know, just work and be out of the sight of the Empire. This is obviously gonna put her over. This is gonna, you know, there's a scene in the trailer where her and Andor are walking away, blowing up a building. So it's like she obviously is going to get into the fight, and this is probably the thing that that gets her there, right?
That on top of losing Brasso.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that would have probably been enough, but
this
now it's personal.
It's personal, and she wants revenge.
Yeah. So I get why they did it. I get what it means, but I think, like you said, like I said earlier, I think it could have been done a little more subtly, but still, like like you said, my daughter may not have known exactly the context, but I would have understood the context. Right. So,
yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest, in that first scene where we saw that lieutenant approach her, I was like, just the way he looked at her, I was like, oh, no. Please
exactly.
don't go there. Please don't go there. No. Please, no. Because I knew exactly where it was going to go.
Totally.
And then it didn't happen the first scene. And I was like, okay. And then the second scene happened. I was like, oh boy, here we go. I know what's coming.
Exactly.
I know what's coming.
Yep.
You can smell a slime ball a mile away.
Yeah, you're right. As soon as you walk up to somebody and start talking about their husband, you know where they're going. So
yeah, it's like, and as soon as they're like surveying around to see where is everybody, are there weapons around, or are we alone? Like that's when you're like,
Yep.
Nope.
Yes. So, yeah, I think we
hit everything.
I think we did everything. Yeah, I think we were delicate with that. I think enough to kind of respect each viewpoint of it. And
yeah, well, it's a delicate subject. I mean, it's like speaking
totally.
as a woman who has been through stuff. It's it's delicate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really it's not that it's tough to talk about it, but it's tough to talk. Like there's a difference between walking on eggshells and being respectful. There's two completely different points of view, and so I'd like to think we were respectful with regards to that topic.
Yeah, I agree. I think look, I think I don't know if I mentioned it here, but I know we talked about it before we went on, was there's been controversial subjects throughout Star Wars. I mean, there has. This has been very subtle. I mean, the Clone Wars hits on a ton of stuff that's
woof.
A little, even though it's an animated series, there's a lot of adult situations that happen in that show. But again, I think it's done enough to where, like you said, a younger child really doesn't know or doesn't grasp the whole thing, I mean, so yeah, I think there's it's not like this is the first time there's been something like this or something insinuating that. So it's just a little bit more direct,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess overall, this kind of excites you for the rest of the season?
It does. I can't wait to see where it goes. Yeah. I mean, I won't lie. It was a lot. I could not watch it in one sitting. I watched it in 3 separate sittings. And no, I did not watch each episode 1, 2, 3. I watched a bit of 1. I watched then 1, 2, a bit of 3, and then I watched the rest of 3. Like that's how it was. So, yeah. I mean, I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be watching these and right in the first sitting because I popped my popcorn. Me and my daughter sit down and watch it. So, it's a good time. 9 o'clock's perfect because 9 it probably ends around 11:30. Here in the East Coast, so it's a good time for me to watch it.
Yes,
I'll be excited. So it's hard to think that 3 more weeks and this thing's done.
Woof.
Okay. Last but not least, want to let Hannah kind of make a little of an announcement. a little bit of a life change here for her.
Yeah. It's a pretty big life change.
Yeah.
Cottingham, I've loved working with you and for you at the company that we work at.
Yeah.
But it is time for me to start a new chapter at the most magical place on earth.
Wow.
I will be continuing my career at Disney. I will be working and helping create, maintain, execute various live shows for the parks and cruise lines. I'm very, very excited about this new opportunity. We are in the middle of moving right now, which is a little stressful, just a
Yeah.
little, just a
Yeah.
little. But I'm eternally grateful for the company that I worked for and the great people that work there, such as Dave. If I stayed through July, it would have been 6 years that I've been working at the
Wow.
company. So, but I am very, very excited for this new chapter. Yes, that means we are moving to Orlando, Florida. So, but I do still hope to continue doing this podcast. I hope not to
Yes.
go anywhere.
Yeah, we're hoping Disney lets her stay here and help and do the show with me each week, but she's got to have that conversation, and it should be. I mean, it's not like we're like ruining Star Wars or like
No,
talking
yeah,
bad about Disney or anything like that.
exactly.
So
I really don't foresee it might be an issue, but
I
like,
mean, I give a lot of money to Disney, so they should they should be happy to have you on.
I mean, I might have to say the classic line. What's the classic line? A lot of content creators who work for Disney are. It's like, I work for the brand. I don't speak for the brand. All of my opinions are mine and mine, or all of these opinions are mine and mine alone, or something like that.
Oh well, we have. Well, I tell you, we have. I have to put it on every show. It's on every
Right.
show.
You have your own disclaimer you have to, but I think I might have.
No. This is the disclaimer from Disney.
Oh yeah.
It says this show is for entertainment purposes only. Inside the Force is not affiliated in any way with Lucasfilm Limited, LLC, the Walt Disney Company, or any of their affiliates or subsidiaries. Star Wars is the copyright of Lucasfilm Limited, LLC, and the Walt Disney Company. So as a media content provider or creator that talks about anything Disney, you have to put that disclaimer.
Yeah.
Technically required to put that disclaimer on anything you create. So
Oh, there you go. Well, maybe it's that, and then I have
let
to
them know that their disclaimer is on our stuff.
Be like, see, it's there. It's there. See.
Yeah, it's there. We're not claiming that we own any of this stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, very excited.
We're actually promoting all of their stuff.
Yeah, you should be grateful for us.
Grateful. Yes. Anyway. No, congratulations, Hannah.
Thank you.
And excited. I besides working for Wrigley, I can't imagine any other place you would work besides Disney. So this fits your personality. It fits your passion. So it's and that's the one thing. Growing up, one of the best things I know my father has always taught me was, no matter what you decide to do, make sure you love what you're doing. And, I know you're going to love working for Disney because it's just in you. So.
Thank you. And this will just give you and the family an excuse to come down to Disney more.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're usually there twice a year anyway. So, yeah, we'll have to just talk about maybe that friends and family discount or something.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So Hannah's gonna be still with us. So she just her background's gonna change a little bit probably. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, good luck to you, Hannah, and looking forward to hearing how it's going. Obviously, might not be able to talk about it much, but it'd be good to kind of see how everything's going down there.
Absolutely.
Okay, everybody. That's it for this episode, talking about the first 3 episodes of Andor. We'll be back next week talking about the next 3. Are you going to be able to next week? Or are you?
No, I will be able to next week.
Yeah. Okay.
We're doing our first move Thursday, and I just did my last class this week. So yes, Wednesday I could probably do something.
Great. Well, you're gonna have to watch Andor then when it comes out, I guess. All right, everybody. Let us know how you guys felt about the first 3 episodes. We'll talk about those comments next week as well. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Hannah, as always.
Thank you, Dave, as always.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. May the Force be with you.